Hello, everyone, and welcome to beautiful Sunset Park in Harvey Cedars for the 10th episode of Townsquare Media Jersey Shore's Ask the Chief. I'm Vin Ebenau with Harvey Cedars Police Chief Robert Burnaford, who this year is also the president of the Ocean County Police Chiefs Association. Today we'll be discussing current events regarding the pandemic, social justice issues, and much more regarding the borough and the state of police today. So, Chief, it's a little bit cloudy, a little bit rainy today, but we're still doing it. Thanks for having me here in Harvey Cedars.
Yeah, Vin, thanks for coming back to Harvey Cedars. It's always a pleasure when you do come here, and I just want to, thank you for having quite a few chiefs from the Monmouth Ocean County areas come online and speak.
Appreciate not only the compliment there, but you watching and being a continuing fan of the show, and I thank you all of you as well. To start with the pandemic, you and I had a conversation, I believe, at the very beginning, I think back in March, just when there were still a lot of questions, not enough answers regarding how the coronavirus spread, what it did, what we should and shouldn't be doing, and then just kind of how police were responding to certain calls. That was something you said you were on calls about with other police chiefs around Ocean County, and just at least with the the non-major ones, the non-violent ones, where a police presence would most certainly be needed. So how have you seen that work in Harvey Cedars along LBI? How have you heard that work out over the last few months across other Ocean County towns with police, just taking calls or emails regarding certain incidents as opposed to just sending a patrol car to go check something out?
Yeah, sure. So, back in early March, actually March 11th, we had, because we have monthly Ocean County Police Chiefs Association meetings, and we had one on March 11th, and Ocean County Health Department Coordinator Dan Regney came down, gave us a briefing on the state of the virus at the time and potentials of what's to come. From that point on, starting that Friday, March 13th, I believe, every chief in Ocean County, we had daily, 7 days a week conference calls because there was no playbook for how we were going to respond to the pandemic. So, I'll speak for my agency, and a lot of the other agencies did put in place modified patrol responses. And you kind of touched on that a little bit of what that means is, depending on the situation, but if an officer was not required at the time to respond to a resident, something they can take over the phone, any information, and then the officers would do that because we were trying to limit the person-to-person contact because we really didn't have much information on exactly, how the virus spread, and what factor that was. So many agencies did put into an effect a modified patrol response, which, to this day, knock on wood, Harvey Cedars did not have any officers that did test positive, which was fantastic. Right. I'd certainly credit that to those policies that were put in place, and also to the officers, taking that seriously, because it was obviously, something that it was a team effort, and everyone had to play their part.
Even now, September, despite a little bit of a recent bump across the county and the state with cases, and as we head into the fall, do you see that being more routine, even when we do find a vaccine, when there aren't as many coronavirus cases being reported? I'm talking maybe, next year, 2 years, 5 years down the line, is police responding to those type of incidents where if they don't necessarily need to be there and have that person-to-person contact, they could take a statement over the phone or by email or whatever, and just have that communication that way, not just to prevent spread of coronavirus, but maybe prevent the spread of general germs in terms of a cold or a flu, or just kind of have those resources available in the department should more in-person presence be needed elsewhere, and then you don't have to have officers drive across town, for example, and respond to something that's major from something that's not as urgent.
Sure. So I think this is certainly, as of right now, from what we know it to be a temporary policy to put in place. Particularly here in Harvey Cedars, we have a very good relationship with the community, as does most of the agencies, if not all, throughout the counties in the state. So we want to maintain that person-to-person contact. So given right now with the modified patrol responses, which we're starting to to retract on that a little bit, a little bit every week as we kind of gain more knowledge of the virus and how it spreads. So I like to think that once we get back to quote unquote normal, whenever that may be, hopefully soon, that we will get back into responding to homes and any calls for service. So I think it's very important that we do that.
Now, outside of response during the pandemic, how have you seen just things change this year while coronavirus was going around in Harvey Cedars, in discussions with other police chiefs around Ocean County, in terms of not just responding to incidents or events, but just kind of how you have to go about your daily procedures, and wearing a mask and wearing gloves, making sure things are clean. How has this year changed policing in regards to the reaction from the coronavirus pandemic and all the health protocols in place?
Sure. So as you mentioned earlier, you and we spoke over the phone initially, and then I believe a couple weeks or a month or two later, you and I met up on top of Hudson Avenue, in person, but we were both wearing masks. So you see the evolution of that. The other thing too is letting the public know, going back to March, just advising the public of what to expect when they do see the police. Let's just say that, normally here in Harvey Cedars, we're driving around, we're stopping at people's houses, we're having a nice conversation, rolling down the window. When the pandemic first started, the officers might have their window up, they might have just given a wave. Again, because the unknown, we're trying to limit that person-to-person contact. We weren't being rude, we were not being unfriendly, we were just trying to protect ourselves as well as the general public. So I think, as we move forward, it was trying to communicate to the public of, where we're at in our police state at the time and, where we hopefully to go. So a lot of it was communication, from the police departments to the public.
Did you see, normally, this is, very busy in the summertime. Was that still the case in Harvey Cedars this year, or did you see maybe a little less vehicle and pedestrian traffic, or did things look and feel different, or by the time summer rolled around, were things about normal in Harvey Cedars for what you would see in previous summers?
Well, we certainly had an uptick in population, for sure, because there wasn't a lot of places to go. Typically we're not hopping on an airplane. You weren't going to summer camp as much. You weren't, the different sporting events or camps like that weren't taking place as much. So a lot of people were coming to the Jersey Shore, and a lot of the times, people have been here since March. We're still seeing about a 20-30% increase in population today. We're up, at the end of September here. So there was a lot of pedestrian traffic, there's a lot of vehicle traffic, and there's a lot of traffic on the beach, which is all well and good, and we appreciate that. And actually, I remember from our one conversation we had in person, the one thing I think I mentioned was that we needed the cooperation, from the public also. Yeah. We needed their help, with the maintaining compliance, and I'll gladly say that we did have that. So for the most part, everyone was compliant. Everyone was respectful of one another. Everyone was, comes to Harvey Cedars. It's it's vacation. It's a place that people love, and they wanted to make it as normal as possible. So I think, given the pandemic, we were able to put a smile on our faces and try to make it as normal as possible.
Now, pandemic aside and the different kind of summer, so to speak, this year, there were certainly some horrible events, the George Floyd murder being one of them, that have sort of made us all take a step back and take a look around about what's going on in society and collect thoughts and ask questions about what should happen next, what needs to happen now. In terms of policing, in terms of the community, there's the defund the police movement in response to that, and then in New York City, because of that, you're seeing a spike in crime. And just down the way, Stafford Police Chief Tom Delane told me years ago about this On Point program that he has, where he has a social worker in the department, and that a couple days a week to help with that. So with all these kind of ideas swirling around, what was your reaction to seeing all this, to hearing all this, and discussing this with other Ocean County police chiefs, and maybe what needs to be done around Ocean County, and what you guys think should be done across the state, across the country, to make sure that every officer out there has the proper training, mentally, physically, and emotionally, to be able to go out there and make the right decisions on behalf of the public?
Sure. So over the last few months, we have certainly seen the protest, but we also seen peaceful protesting. I did see one of your videos online up in Toms River where you had Chief Little and Prosecutor Billheimer, joining in that peaceful protest, peaceful march, which was great to see that. With Chief Delane and his On Point program, which has spread, I believe, to Little Egg and South Toms River. Again, another fantastic thing that actually started a few years ago. So we need to see more of those initiatives. Training is always first and foremost. We need to continue training. We need to always use more training, and also to just trying to continue to get out into the public. One thing that we were going to do here in Harvey Cedars prior to the pandemic was to have monthly community forums, so we can bring the public in, and every week or every month they would meet with a different officer to kind of talk about what we did, what services we have to offer, and if we don't have those services, where do we get those kind of services? Ocean County has so many services, at our fingertips, that the public sometimes just doesn't know. Especially here in Ocean County, when every chief communicates daily, weekly. I mean, everyone's a phone call away, and everyone is there to help the other chief, the other departments out. So if there's something that Harvey Cedars doesn't have, certainly, I can make a phone call and be able to get advice, to get guidance on how to obtain something that we don't have.
I want to ask a question just because I don't think it's maybe something that a lot of people in the public may understand. Your position as president of the Ocean County Police Chiefs Association, which, from what I understand, is a kind of a rotating title on a yearly basis. So what are some of the roles and responsibilities that you have this year in particular, a challenging year of all years, so so that's your luck.
Yeah.
What are some of the roles and responsibilities you have as the president of the Ocean County Police Chiefs Association?
So it's certainly been a great year. I will say that it's such an honor to serve as president of the association. It gave me and continues to give me the opportunity to work with all the other agencies, here in Ocean County, and typically, we'll have some of our private partners reach out, when they're not sure where in the county to go to. It kind of all funnels through the president, and then I can be able to kind of pass that off. So it's just really been such an honor to work with all the chiefs. And granted, it was a very busy year. It was I'm very happy to be able to be in this role and do anything I can to better the associations, but more importantly to better the general public.
To close out with this is. In all the years you've been an officer and the police chief here in Harvey Cedars, what are the best parts about the job? What do you like getting up and doing every day, going to work and being the police chief here in Harvey Cedars, whether it's fall, winter, spring, or summer?
Well, that's a great question, and I like that question because for me it's not a job. So my parents bought their summer house here in the early 80s, so I had the opportunity to spend my summers here, lifeguarded for 9 years, member of the fire company, the first aid squad. So this community, it's my community, and I'm just, very proud to be the chief of the police department here. And so every day that I come to work, it's just an honor, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity. So it's not a job, it's just it's a life that I'm very grateful to have.
I'm sure that everybody in Harvey Cedars is grateful to have you as their chief, I'm sure. Certainly grateful for your time here today, Chief Burnaford. Thanks for having me.
Vin, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. You're always welcome back to Harvey Cedars.
Always a pleasure to be here. Harvey Cedars is a great place to be no matter what time of the year it is. Make sure you subscribe to the 92.7 WOBM YouTube channel to keep up to date with all the other Ask the Chief episodes. And then download our Townsquare Media Jersey Shore family of apps for 92.7 WOBM, 94.3 The Point, 105.7 The Hawk, and the new Beach Radio 104.1 FM. For Harvey Cedars Police Chief Robert Burnaford, I'm Vin Ebenau here in Harvey Cedars saying so long, take care, and thanks for watching.